Let's be honest, most of us have it pretty easy when it comes to feeding our animals. A quick drive to the store, a bag of feed tossed into the car, and that's it. But imagine if the closest feed store wasn't just a few miles away. It might as well be across the globe. For the Amish, making a feed store run isn't even part of the plan. Instead, they've perfected a method of feeding their animals that relies entirely on what's readily available. No flashy bags, no modern conveniences, just tried and true farming know-how. So, how do they pull it off? Let's take a closer look, starting with some of the most common animals on the farm, chickens. These feathered little dynamos are more than just breakfast providers. They're essential players in sustainable feeding practices on Amish farms. Picture a bustling farmyard with chickens strutting around, pecking and scratching for their next meal. What's on the menu? A wholesome blend of grains grown right on the farm, along with fresh garden scraps. In Amish households, raising chickens is like managing a small business. Families grow their own corn, wheat, and oats, providing these hardworking birds with a balanced diet. Did you know a single hen can lay up to 300 eggs a year? That's a lot of breakfasts. With that kind of production, it's no surprise chickens have a prize spot on the farm. And when meals are over, nothing goes to waste. Leftover veggie scraps, like potato peels, wilted greens, and even the odd bit of stale bread, find their way into the chicken coop. It's the ultimate form of food recycling. These chickens do a fantastic job of transforming yesterday's leftovers into tomorrow's breakfast. They relish the variety, which keeps them healthy and satisfied. Just imagine, one moment, you're tossing out some old vegetable scraps. The next, it's a full-on chicken feast. Now, it's true, chickens can be a little picky at times, but they're not exactly gourmet diners. Ever seen chickens scramble for a crumb of leftover cake? It's hilarious. They'll go to great lengths for a hint of sweetness. And if you thought cats were expert hunters, you haven't seen a chicken on the hunt for a bug. Chickens are like tiny, feathered pest control agents, gobbling up insects that would otherwise wreak havoc in the garden. And here's the best part. These happy chickens contribute to the farm in ways beyond just eggs. Their manure is composting gold, transforming into nutrient-rich fertilizer for Amish gardens. It's the perfect cycle. Chickens help control pests, lay eggs, and their waste enriches the soil. It's as if they're on a mission to make the entire farm more self-sufficient, proving that when it comes to sustainable farming, the Amish really know what they're doing. Now, let's turn our attention to the farm's gentle giants. Cows. These big beauties aren't just relaxing in the fields, they're hard at work, producing milk that's a cornerstone of farm life. If you've ever been around a cow, you know they have a way of making life feel a bit slower. They'll chew their cud, blink at you lazily, and give you that classic, "What do you want?" look, which honestly is pretty entertaining. In Amish farming, cows are treated to a diet that would impress any foodie. Their meals are a blend of pasture grasses, fresh hay, and carefully prepared silage. Silage is just a fancy term for fermented grasses and corn, a kind of gourmet buffet for cows. Rich in nutrients, this special feed keeps these hefty animals in top health. Just as you wouldn't serve your guests the same leftovers every day, cows appreciate a carefully thought-out menu too. Here's an interesting tidbit. A single dairy cow can produce a whopping 6 to 7 gallons of milk daily. That's enough to fill plenty of cereal bowls or provide enough milk for a week's worth of cheese. But feeding a cow isn't a seasonal affair. It's a year-round responsibility. During warmer months, cows graze on lush, green pastures. As winter approaches, Amish farmers stock up on hay and silage to make sure their cows are well fed throughout the colder months. Now picture this. It's a brisk winter day, and the cows are tucked inside their cozy barn. While you might be wrapped up with a warm mug of cocoa, these cows are happily munching on freshly cut hay as if it's a gourmet treat. And trust me, they have an appetite. A single cow can eat around 100 pounds of feed each day. Imagine trying to finish a massive pizza all by yourself. But feeding cows isn't just about what's on their plate. It's also about being present, providing consistent care, and ensuring they're well looked after, no matter the season. For the Amish, This attention to their animals' well-being is part of a lifestyle rooted in respect, sustainability, and self-sufficiency. Farmers often add a touch of molasses or grains to their animals' feed, giving it that extra flavor boost. It's like seasoning your favorite dish. No one wants bland meals every day. If you've ever watched a cow dive eagerly into a trough, you'll understand why they're often called the life of the barn party. But it's not just about the food. The Amish believe in treating their animals with deep respect and care. Happy, well-cared-for cows produce more milk and have calmer, friendlier temperaments. It's a simple philosophy. Happy cows, happy milk. Walking into a barn where animals are treated kindly, you can feel the warm atmosphere. And it's not just about the cow's diet, they also have a social life. Cows form a natural pecking order, or perhaps we should call it a mooing order, and watching them interact is like witnessing a barnyard drama. There's always one cow who thinks she's in charge, bossing others around, and another who's a bit of an underdog, often nudged aside with a gentle headbutt. It's a real-life soap opera, but with more hay and far less drama. This ties back to the bigger picture. The milk produced by these cows nourishes Amish families and is also used to make local favorites like cheese and yogurt. So, when you enjoy a creamy yogurt or cheese, remember the cows that made it possible, happily munching away on their specially prepared meals. Now, let's meet the next stars of the farm, the lively goats. If you think cows are entertaining, wait until you see their smaller, mischievous cousins. Goats are the comedians of the barnyard, always curious and playful, turning a simple grazing session into a full-blown adventure. Watching them is like getting a front-row seat to a comedy show. One amazing thing about goats is their ability to eat nearly anything green. If it's a plant within reach, it's on the menu. Weeds, shrubs, leftover garden scraps, goats will munch it all, making them incredibly valuable for clearing overgrown areas. They're like nature's little landscapers, transforming unruly patches into tidy spaces, all while having a great time. Did you know that goats can eat about 4 to 5% of their body weight daily? That's like you polishing off 5 cheeseburgers in one sitting. During summer, Amish farmers let goats roam the pastures, happily snacking on fresh greens. But when winter arrives and fresh treats become scarce, farmers stock up on hay and prepare special feeds to keep the goats well-fed and happy through the colder months. Goats are also excellent recyclers. Any leftover veggies or scraps from the garden are quickly cleaned up by these hungry helpers. It's like they're living their best lives, grazing and getting rewarded with food. And have you ever heard the myth that goats eat tin cans? While they don't actually eat metal, they're known for nibbling on just about anything, so keeping the yard tidy is a must. One of my favorite memories was of a goat named Daisy at a local farm. Every time I walked by, she would bleat loudly as if calling me over for a chat, only to dart away when I got close, looking back as if to say, "Catch me if you can." They really know how to play hard to get. Goats are social animals, thriving in groups. Watching them interact is a treat. They're always butting heads to establish the pecking order. It's like the barnyard version of a reality show, where only the boldest make it to the top. Feeding these little rascals isn't just for their benefit. Their grazing habits help keep the environment healthy, preventing overgrowth and naturally managing pests. You could say they're like four-legged gardeners doing their part to keep the ecosystem in check. Now, let's meet the playful pranksters of the farm, the pigs. If goats are the comedians, pigs are the cheeky tricksters. Always ready to roll in the mud, these clever animals bring a unique energy to the farm. They may not have the cuteness of puppies, but their big personalities shine through. They're smart, sociable, and always hungry. You might be surprised to know that pigs are incredibly versatile eaters, the original recyclers of the farm, eagerly taking in everything from kitchen scraps to garden leftovers. Pigs are known for their incredible knack for turning leftovers into nourishment. If there's any food on the farm that might otherwise go to waste, you can count on a pig to happily devour it. This makes them an amazing choice for farms wanting to cut down on waste, almost like a compost bin that oinks in appreciation. In Amish households, feeding pigs typically includes a blend of grains, vegetables, and family meal leftovers. Picture this. After a big Sunday dinner, the table scraps don't go to waste. They become part of the pig's feast. Farmers take pride in ensuring nothing is wasted, and these pigs, with their piggy smiles, seem to appreciate every bite. Let's not forget, pigs are quite intelligent animals. They can be trained to do tricks, solve puzzles, and even navigate mazes. They're not just lying around in the mud, they're planning their next big move. Fun fact, pigs can learn to associate sounds with food. Ring a bell, and they'll come running, just like they're about to enjoy a five-star meal. And speaking of mud, ever noticed how pigs love to roll around in it? It's not just for fun. The mud cools them down and protects their skin from the sun, acting like a built-in spa day. They've mastered self-care long before it became trendy. When it comes to their meals, pigs are known for their hearty appetites. A full-grown pig can eat about 5 to 7% of its body weight every day. For a 200-pound pig, that's like eating a whole pizza solo. But the truly fascinating part about feeding pigs is how they transform scraps into flavorful meat, creating a full-circle process that supports both the farm and the family. One of my favorite pig stories involves a family friend who raised them on their farm. They had one particularly lively pig named Wilbur. Yes, just like in the book. Every time someone walked by, Wilbur would grunt loudly as if asking for a snack. He was famous for his talent at rooting through the garden, sniffing out the best vegetables before anyone else could. A simple stroll in the garden with Wilbur became a race to beat him to the veggies. Next on our farm tour are the lovable, fluffy sheep. These woolly animals might seem gentle and easygoing, but they each have a unique charm. Imagine a flock of sheep grazing peacefully, their soft bleats creating a relaxing background to farm life. But don't be fooled by their calmness. Sheep can be full of surprises. Sheep primarily graze on grasses, clovers, and other tasty plants. They seem to have a built-in GPS for finding the most flavorful greens, seeking out the best bites like food critics. Fun fact, a single sheep can eat up to 5 pounds of grass in a day. That's like munching through a large bag of chips in one sitting. What's fascinating about sheep is their reliance on foraging. Instead of just munching through one field, farmers rotate the pastures, letting the grass recover between grazing. This ensures the sheep always have fresh food and helps keep the fields healthy. You could say sheep are the original lawn care experts, keeping the fields tidy without the need for any machinery. For Amish farmers, sheep are also a valuable source of wool, so their diet plays a big role in wool production too. When it's time for shearing, farmers make sure the sheep have a little extra grain and hay to ensure their coats are thick and lush. Those fluffy wool coats are like nature's version of a cozy sweater, and sheep seem to enjoy the added care they receive in return. Life on an Amish farm for sheep isn't just about grazing. They have personalities too. I once visited a farm where the sheep had their own quirky ways. Watching them interact is like seeing a cast of characters, each with its own little role. They might seem docile at first, but spend some time with them, and you'll see their charm and intelligence shine through. On this particular farm, each sheep had its own name and personality, making the pasture feel like a cast of characters. One especially mischievous sheep named Fluffy had a habit of sneaking up behind people and giving them a gentle nudge, like a prankster in a woolly disguise. While sheep might appear simple, they are surprisingly social and thrive in close-knit flocks. If one sheep wanders too far, you'll often hear a chorus of worried bleats calling it back. A reminder that community is crucial, even among animals. Feeding sheep contributes significantly to farm sustainability. Their grazing helps control weeds and encourages healthy pasture growth, while their manure enriches the soil, creating ideal conditions for crops to flourish. So, while they're out in the fields munching on grass, they're also adding to the health of the entire farm ecosystem. These gentle foragers play a key role in the harmony of farm life, showcasing how animals and land work together for mutual benefit. Now, let's hop into the world of rabbits, adorable fluff balls that not only bring joy but are also quite helpful in the garden. With their twitching noses and big ears, rabbits act like little cleanup crews for garden scraps and leftover greens. Picture a sunny day in the garden with fresh veggies ready for harvest. Those slightly wilted leaves or carrot tops that don't make it to the dinner table, they're a delicacy for the rabbits. Toss a few of these leftovers their way and you'll see them hopping in delight. as if they've just hit the jackpot. They seem to have a sixth sense for finding the best garden treats. One remarkable thing about rabbits is their ability to multiply quickly. A single female rabbit can have up to 12 babies at once and can do this several times a year. So, if you start with just 2 rabbits, you'll soon have a whole furry family in no time. Think of it as the animal kingdom's version of going viral. Families hoping to expand their rabbit population find it surprisingly easy. They just need enough space for all those new bunnies. Speaking of bunnies, I have to laugh when I remember the antics of a particularly cheeky rabbit named Nibbles. One day, while I was working in the garden, he managed to sneak into my bag of seeds. Before I knew it, he was hopping around with a seed packet hanging from his mouth like a trophy. I couldn't stop laughing as he tried to figure out how to open it, looking as if he were plotting his next big snack. Who knew rabbits had such a flair for drama? On a more practical note, raising rabbits can be a sustainable option for families. They don't require much space, making them ideal for smaller farms or backyard homesteads. By feeding rabbits with garden scraps and foraged greens, families can cut down on waste while producing healthy, lean meat that's packed with nutrients. With their fast reproduction rate, raising rabbits is a great way to boost local food sources without a large investment. Now, let's turn to the noble horses. These majestic creatures have been loyal partners in farming for centuries. Imagine a picturesque scene of a horse plowing a field or trotting down a sunny lane. Their strength and grace are truly captivating. Horses have a diet that's as strong and hardy as they are, primarily eating grass, hay, and grains. On many Amish farms, they are essential both as companions and for the hard work they contribute. On one farm, the sheep each had their own names and personalities. One especially mischievous sheep named Fluffy loved to sneak up on people and give them a playful nudge. It was like having a woolly prankster around, always ready to surprise. Despite their simplicity, sheep are remarkably social animals. They thrive in groups and often form close bonds. If one sheep wanders too far, you'll hear a chorus of bleats calling them back, a gentle reminder of the value of community, even among animals. Feeding sheep also supports sustainable farming. Their grazing naturally controls weeds, promotes healthier pasture growth, and the manure they leave behind enriches the soil, making it perfect for future crops. So, while they're busy munching away, sheep are also contributing to the overall health of the farm. Through their diet, social behavior, and wool production, sheep are an essential part of farm life, showing the interconnectedness of animals and land. Now let's step into the world of rabbits, those adorable little bundles of fluff that bring charm and also help with garden upkeep. With their twitching noses and large ears, rabbits are like nature's tidy little helpers. They thrive on garden scraps and love to forage for greens, making them perfect garden companions. Imagine a sunny day in the garden with fresh veggies ready to harvest. What about those slightly wilted greens or carrot tops that didn't quite make the cut for dinner? Enter the rabbits. Toss a bit of leftover lettuce or cabbage their way, and you'll see them hop about with joy as if they found hidden treasure. It's like they have a radar for finding the best garden treats. Rabbits are also famously prolific, which can be both impressive and a bit overwhelming. A single female rabbit can have up to 12 babies in one go, and she can repeat this several times a year. If you start with just a pair of rabbits, you might soon have an entire furry family. It's like nature's version of going viral. For families hoping to grow their rabbit population, it's surprisingly easy. Just make sure there's enough space because the numbers can grow quickly. Speaking of rabbits, I have to laugh when I think of a particularly cheeky bunny named Nibbles. One afternoon while I was tending to the garden, Nibbles managed to sneak into my bag of seeds. Before I knew it, he was bounding around with a packet in his mouth like a prized trophy. I couldn't stop laughing as he tried to open it, looking like he was planning his next big snack. Who knew rabbits could be so dramatic? On a more practical note, raising rabbits can be a sustainable choice for families. They don't need much space, which makes them ideal for smaller farms or backyards. Feeding them garden scraps and foraged greens reduces waste while providing a source of healthy, lean meat, rich in nutrients. With their quick reproduction, rabbits offer a valuable way to increase local food sources without a massive investment. And now, let's move on to the noble horses. These magnificent animals are more than just beautiful. They've been essential partners in farming for centuries. Picture the timeless scene of a horse plowing a field or trotting down a sunny lane. Their strength and grace are captivating. Horses have a diet that reflects their hardy nature, relying on grass, hay, and grains. On many Amish farms, they remain essential, not only for the work they contribute, but for the connection they represent to generations of farming tradition. On a farm, you might spot horses eagerly munching on fresh hay after a long day of work. What's amusing is that horses are particular eaters. They often nibble carefully, choosing only the finest strands of hay. Watching a horse pick through hay is like watching someone navigate a buffet, trying to decide on their favorites. And let's not overlook how indispensable horses are for farm duties. They can pull plows, transport supplies, and even assist in planting. Remarkably, a strong horse can pull up to 3 times its own weight, a feat like a teenager lugging a mountain of groceries all at once. Impressive and perhaps a bit exhausting. I have a funny story about a gentle giant of a horse named Charlie. Charlie had a mischievous side and loved to sneak snacks. One day, while I was busy feeding the chickens, I turned away for just a second, and there was Charlie with his nose deep in the chicken feed. He looked at me with his big, innocent eyes as if to say, "What? I was just helping out." I couldn't help but laugh. He seemed to think he could blend in with the chickens for the day. Horses also play a big role in eco-friendly farming. They produce manure that can be composted to enrich the soil, creating a natural fertilizer for crops. This nutrient cycle keeps the farm's ecosystem healthy. Plus, relying on horses instead of machines reduces dependence on fossil fuels, making these majestic creatures eco-friendly champions too. The bond between a horse and its owner can be profoundly special. Spending time with horses fosters patience, empathy, and responsibility. I remember the first time I rode a horse. It was a bit intimidating at first, but once I got comfortable, I felt a connection that was both exhilarating and peaceful. Being on horseback makes you feel part of something greater. Next on our farm tour are the turkeys. Those amusing, plump birds with a flair for showing off. With their colorful feathers and quirky struts, turkeys bring a cheerful vibe to any farm. But these delightful birds are more than just a splash of color. They hold an important role in the farm's ecosystem, especially in their feeding habits. Turkeys are natural foragers, always pecking around for seeds, plants, and bugs. Imagine them roaming the yard, scratching at the ground as if searching for buried treasure, a sight that never fails to make you smile. Farmers often add grains like corn and oats to their diet, alongside kitchen scraps like vegetable peelings and leftover bread. When you see turkeys digging into these treats, you can practically hear their clucks of delight. During harvest season, especially around Thanksgiving, turkeys take center stage. Families gather to celebrate, and the turkey often becomes the highlight of the meal. Picture a beautifully roasted turkey, golden and glistening on the table, embodying the spirit of the holiday. Many Amish families hold these traditions dear, honoring home-cooked meals and cherished family time. Did you know that turkeys have an eye for style? They can see in color, which might explain why they strut around so confidently, flaunting their colorful feathers as if they're on a runway. I once watched a turkey saunter around the yard, and it truly seemed to be posing for an imaginary camera. These birds have a dramatic flair. Now let's wag our way over to one of the most loyal members of the farm, the dogs. These hardworking companions aren't just pets. They help herd livestock, guard the farm, and provide endless loyalty. When it comes to feeding them, Amish families don't rely on store-bought dog food. Instead, their meals are often based on kitchen scraps, especially meat straight from the farm's table. Imagine a dog sitting eagerly by the kitchen door, eyes fixed on the plate, waiting for those tasty leftovers. I had a dog named Charlie, yes, another Charlie, who knew exactly when dinner was wrapping up. As soon as the plate started being cleared, he was there, tail wagging, ready for his favorite second dinner of meat scraps. While meat is their primary treat, farm dogs also enjoy a bit of variety with cooked veggies, grains, and other scraps. But it's the meat that really gets them excited. I once saw a dog happily gnawing on leftover chicken bones, savoring every bite. It was like he had struck gold. However, not all table scraps are suitable for dogs. Just like anyone else, the Amish know there are foods that dogs shouldn't touch. Chocolate, onions, and grapes are definitely off limits, and they make sure to keep these out of reach. I once heard about a dog that managed to swipe an entire pie cooling on the windowsill, only to find out halfway through that it had chocolate in it. Let's just say that wasn't a pleasant day for anyone involved. These farm dogs do so much more than just enjoy the leftovers. After a good meal, they're back on duty, herding sheep, keeping a watchful eye on the chickens, and guarding the farm against any potential threats. Breeds like collies are especially skilled at herding, and it's something special to see them in action. They run circles around the livestock with incredible precision, steering each animal where it needs to go. Their meals might be simple, but their contributions to farm life are absolutely vital. On an Amish farm, every animal has a unique role. From cows that provide fresh milk to the playful goats that keep things lively, each creature brings something valuable to daily life. These animals are not just sources of food, they're cherished companions and true members of the family. The way Amish families care for their livestock reflects their deep-rooted values of sustainability, community, and respect for the natural world. So, next time you sit down for a meal or see a farmer with their animals, take a moment to think about the love and hard work that make it all possible. Every farm has its own story, rich with laughter, dedication, and the close bonds between people and the animals that make life so meaningful. Here's to celebrating farm life and the furry, feathered friends who make it all worthwhile.